There's a long history of grapes being expats.
What do you mean? When is that?
Well, you think about some of the grapes that are indigenous to, let's say, Europe, right? Cabernet, Merlot. But then, the Spanish, the monks brought a lot of these grapes to California. The Italians brought their grapes here to America.
Kind of like the same way that tomatoes have nothing to do with Italy.
No.
And yet, we identify tomatoes almost solely with Italy, right? I mean, isn't it like a South American, like Mexican thing?
Yeah, it's a South American. It's an Indian crop.
Something that is native to somewhere else,
that's right,
being just taken across the world.
But can then thrive.
And then thriving.
And become the fabric of a culture.
Isn't that funny? So that's what we have here. A little bit.
We have...
Not totally, but a little bit.
Yeah, we're seeing the beginnings of that.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful story.
Yeah. What is up, Watch fam, and welcome to Liquor Run. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and you are...
Rolly.
He's like a magician. Rolly from Theo and Harris. Happy Friday. Monday through Thursday at Theo and Harris, we talk watches. And on the weekends, too, on Instagram and on other mediums. But on YouTube, Monday through Thursday, it's watches. Watches and value and new additions and everything. But on Friday, we take a break.
We talk about value.
Talk about value and wine.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today, Dad?
We're talking about a Vermentino from Australia.
Beautiful.
By a family called Mitolo. Okay, and
Italian. I mean,
they're an Italian family.
And Vermentino is an Italian grape.
Vermentino is a grape predominantly found in the island of Sardinia, an Italian island.
But yet it's made its way down to Australia.
But it's gone down to Australia.
Under.
Down under.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of Australian fans here, so if any of you guys have tried this, please comment below. Not just Mitolo, but any sort of Vermentino from Australia. Let us know. I mean, I think this is very cool when I find things that are not indigenous, right? That grow. I mean, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, sounds good. Let's do a quick wristwatch check before we get into the wine.
Okay.
I am wearing my personal Cartier Santos Dumont. Actually, the first wristwatch ever made. I don't know if you know that. The Santos Dumont was the first wristwatch ever made.
I do know.
Yep, and this is a version from the 80s, which is shockingly close to the original. I think it's a beautiful watch. This watch was a dream watch of mine for a long time, and I was lucky enough to be able to snatch one up a couple months ago.
It's a beautiful watch, and I'm a sucker for straps.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful one,
I love
right?
the way that looks.
Yep. So you're wearing a watch that I remember from when I was a child.
Yeah.
What you got on?
This is Baume Mercier Hampton.
Yeah, I love this watch. So this watch, you have a look at it and you can see for yourself. Obviously, I mean, it's a spin-off from like a tank, but they made enough changes where it's not a rip-off. And I love that. You know what I mean? It's inspired by this era of the 40, like kind of 20s, 30s, 40s, but it's not stolen from any brands. They didn't use Roman numerals. They didn't use the typical like Cartier ripoff, whereas so many brands did. I mean, like Patek did it, for God's sakes. Like everyone stole from Cartier at some point. So I think it's cool that this watch, although is in the same style, is different. So
I like it.
All right, so let's pour it. Let's take a look at the color and sniff and drink.
That's right. No wine opener today.
We got the twist off.
Okay, we got something different. Because I got this as one of my Christmas gifts from my brother-in-law.
Oh my God.
I'm sure he'll be happy to see it. So we were kidding about the wine, the screw cap.
Yeah.
The Aussies were probably the first ones to really embrace the screw cap.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're very progressive. They're not pretentious people.
Yeah.
I
love that.
And they feel that what's more important?
I love that.
The quote-unquote arrogance of having this tradition of putting cork in a wine versus the practicality of having less wine spoiled.
Yeah.
Because cork invariably will spoil some wine.
Wow.
You'd be surprised what percentage of wine spoils.
So they figured, let's put a screw cap on it.
Let's put a screw cap.
And it works.
But then there's always the debate, does a wine age as well in a screw cap versus, I don't care.
Right, yeah.
My wines are not lasting that long.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
As for the color, it's a very, very pale yellow.
Yep.
Maybe even a hint of green. Okay. So
but still on the pale side.
But very, very pale.
Yep.
Definitely. Let's give it a sniff. To me, I smell like a little green apple.
Okay.
Not a huge nose on this wine, so it's somewhat muted. Mm-hmm. Okay, but that's the smell that I do pick up. Let's give it a little taste.
It's tasty.
Very, very tasty.
You're right on the green apple. Taste it.
Right? Yeah, so you definitely taste it. There's a slightly bitter afternote on this wine, but in a very, very nice way.
I think it's very bright.
It's bright.
You're right about the bitterness too.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel it.
Yep.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
It almost has, of course you don't see it, but I feel like once you have it in your mouth, it has like almost an effervescence to it. Do you feel that? I mean,
in a certain way,
maybe it's minerality that I'm
minerality that I'm
mislabeling.
It's minerality. Yeah. It's like crushed stones.
Yep.
Yep. And that's what lends to this almost this sensation of sparkling.
Right.
Although this is a still wine.
No, for sure.
There's no
question.
effervescence here.
But it has that minerality.
Yeah. Nice wine.
Very tasty.
I've had Vermentinos. Yeah.
Bitterness throws you for a loop.
Yeah. Yep. It's almost like grapefruit pith.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's funny. Okay, so it's a Saturday morning. I'm going to go to the liquor store. I want to pick up this wine. That's per recommendation. What do I plan to eat it with Saturday afternoon/night? What am I going to buy to pair with this wine?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely do seafood with this wine.
Yeah.
To me, it just it lends itself wonderfully for seafood. Grilled octopus, if you want to be fancy.
Yeah.
Even
char,
goat cheese, the char. I think the char on a grilled tentacle would be fabulous.
Fabulous, yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, you could certainly do some cheese, like goat cheeses. I think would be nice with this.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a wine you're really going to taste while you're eating. It's not going to just wash your mouth out. This is a wine that you really do taste. There's a lot of flavor here. I find that with so many other times you're trying to try, wine to pairings with food, they end up one washes out the other. This wine is really going to be very forward. It's not going to fall to the back. I mean, this is delicious, and I like how powerful it is.
Yeah, it's powerful, but it's not in an overwhelming way. I mean, it's again, it's very approachable. You can pour this wine for a group, and I really truly believe that people will love this wine. Cool. So I think it's a perfect complement to especially now that the weather is breaking. You're outside. You're in the afternoon. You're picking on the little things here, some cheeses, some whatever it is that you do. Nice choice.
Beautiful. Okay, so Vermentino, is this a lot like most Vermentinos you've had? Is this different? What are you getting as far as putting this in context with Vermentino as a whole?
I've had Vermentinos from Sardinia, and they very closely resemble this effort.
Yep.
There are some that are a little bit more lush.
What do you mean by lush?
A little bit more bigger in terms of fruit and maybe even oily. If you guys, for those of you that drink California Chardonnay, they like the buttery kind of thing. Yep. Vermentino can take on that type of expression too. But this is really a very I use the word dry, but it's not very sweet at all. Minerality is definitely it's a mineral driven wine.
Yeah, that's funny. It's got the mineral and like I said, I think the best way you can explain it, at least in my very casual, very non-wine geek kind of like lay person, a lot of minerality, a lot of grapefruit. Yeah, and that's really it. I mean, that's a lot of what I'm getting. That's it. It's good. It's tasty. It's not what I expected. I never expect that out of wine. When I get this, I know it exists, but I'm always like, oh, okay, wow, throwing you for a loop. When I look at this, I don't think of stones and grapefruit. I look at this and I'm thinking I'm just going to get a very kind of like casual wine. But this is tasty.
This delivers a lot of value. Number one, the Vermentino is a very underrated grape. Most people don't know about it. Mm-hmm. It's a wildly popular grape in Italy, as you know. It's also used in France. It's a very important grape to the rosés from the south, from Provence. Yeah. Okay. In fact, the one wine that we tried, the rosé we did last week, the Chateau d'Esclans, has Vermentino in it. They call it a roll or rolly, but it's in the blend. So the French use this grape, and of course now the Australians. So Mitolo is located in McLaren Vale, in South Australia. So just south of Adelaide. They have a Mediterranean climate. So hot summers, cool rainy winters, great drainage, and it's they're very close to the water. So if you walk too far, you get eaten by a great white, to the water. If you go too far in, you get smacked by a kangaroo. So they're in awesome locations.
See that video of that guy that just cracked the kangaroo? That's awesome.
But this is really, really good. The Mitolo also does some red wine, some Shiraz, Grenache. So McLaren Vale is one of the areas in South Australia that just makes outstanding wines. It's prized land. prized terroir, perfect climate, the Mediterranean climate. So all things align beautifully for great winemaking. And this family has done that. They went to Australia back in the 50s, started a gardening business, if you will. They were gardeners,
And they ended up making
they
wine.
ended up making wine. Right? They're Italian by descent, and they've created a really nice product here. I'm really delighted with this wine because. For the price, you can't beat it. Now, their reds cost, they're like 27, 28, 29, $30.
Wow.
But here, this was half the price.
Yep.
Right?
How much was it?
This was, I think, like $15.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Very good
This
value.
is really excellent value. Again, if you want to explore beyond Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc, this is, by the way, a fantastic alternative to Sauvignon Blanc. It doesn't have the pronounced smells or taste that Sauvignon Blanc does, but if you like that style of wine, you're going to love this because it's a little bit more muted. It's a little bit easier to approach than Sauvignon Blanc.
Awesome.
This is lovely.
I'm glad we did this, Dan.
Yes.
Thank you guys
Cheers.
so much for watching this episode of Liquor Run. We tried a beautiful Mitolo, as you saw, and I very much so recommend it. Seriously, pick this bottle up. I mean, I think this is one of those things you're either going to like or you're not, because I think that the tastes very much so are bold. But still, I enjoyed it, and that's it. Give it a shot. $14. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.
Take care, guys.